Hello, hello, hello. It's Hone Your Speaker Skills slot again today because it's Tuesday. So what have we got for you today? I want to investigate with you 3 preparation personalities. How do you prepare for a talk? I've kind of almost got an archetype for the 3 different sorts of people that I recognize in the speakers that I work with. So let me share with you what I'm talking about. I'm going to share screen and we're going to pull up this lovely thing on present mode, please. Present, present, present. Big one, big style. This one. There we go. Right. The script writer. Now, see whether you recognize yourself in this. The script writer is somebody who likes to have some certainty. They like to have things in order. They like to have things written down to be certain. Dare I say it? Perfect. We like to have things organized that I know it's there. I've got it. I know what I'm going to be doing. I know what I'm going to be saying. Now, some of you have seen a formula, a framework, a structure, if you will, of how I have written down a particular talk that I was doing. And yes, I did script it. Every single part of it, including where I was putting pauses, including stage directions, where I was putting intonation lifts and intonation command tone drops. So I went through and annotated everything about this speech. And I've shared that with some of you. Now, this is something that I do in a brand new situation with brand new material, and I don't really feel very confident. And yes, it does happen quite a lot. That sense of, oh, what if I get it wrong, is at the fore when I'm writing out my script. Now, with a script writing type personality, we have to be very careful about how we write it out. Let's face it, at school we were given the opportunity to know about formal writing because that's what you did when you wrote things down. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. You got the idea. When you're doing formal writing, when you're writing for school, when you're writing for telling a story on paper, you write a certain way. When you're speaking it out, there's a different way of phrasing it, isn't there? It's more conversational, it's more engaging. It's not formal. Now, if you happen to be delivering a lecture, or your topic is incredibly science-based, where you have to get everything exactly right, then yes, script it out, verbatim if necessary. But I'd counsel you to think about how you're going to come alive and how you're going to bring your topic alive to your audience if it's written formally. So this script that I've been talking about, what I did was I actually spoke it out. I mentally gave the talk and then wrote down what I said in conversational style, how I said it, what the annotation was about, the intonation and the stage directions and all that, because I had physically, well, certainly mentally done it first. So it's that way round. How do I deliver it? And then I'll write it down. Now, if that's somebody that sounds a little familiar and a little close to home, what you may want to do is to deliver it straight to camera and record it. And then you can write it down from there. different ways of preparing for the script writer. Okay, you've got the certainty, you know what you're going to say, you know how you're going to say it. The downside is it can sound very formal and it can sound a bit stilted. As I said, if you are somebody who has to deliver absolutely verbatim the right information, think about how you can make that come alive. What are the stories you can use to illustrate your points? I'll give you an illustration to tell you what I'm talking about. I've worked with the TEDx team at the University of Western Australia for 5 seasons now, and I think it's 3 seasons ago, we had a world-renowned professor of leukemia who was one of our speakers. She was talking about this groundbreaking diagnostic procedure that she and her team had come up with. Well, this is really quite highfalutin and very highbrow, and how they were looking for those individual rogue cells that, if they weren't picked up, would proliferate and the leukemia would come back again. It was very dry, potentially, except she topped and tailed it with a very personal story. I won't say any more than that, because I'll pop the URL in the bottom of the on the chat from this recording, so you can go and have a look at it, because it was very powerful. And what she said, how she described her diagnostic procedure, was brilliant. Again, I'm not going to say any more than that. Go have a look at it. A very potentially dry subject, had to get the language right, had to get exactly what she was talking about correct. Had she scripted it out first? Yep, she had. And then she'd learned it on top. But we'd done some tweaking in between. So that's our first personality, the script writer. Okay, the second one, let's pull that one up for you. The second one is here. This is the extemporaneous, that's the word I'm after, extemporaneous speaker. This is more, if you've got your script writer at this end, this is more the other end of the spectrum. This is the person who goes, oh yeah, I can talk about that. And they'll get up and talk for potentially hours. They're free-flowing creatives. They don't like to be tied down. The downside of this is, along with the spontaneity and this wonderful presence that they bring to their talks, is they can get caught down a rabbit hole, because something will be sparked off in their mind and they'll follow that little rabbit down the hole. And then they may go, oh, how do I get back out of this? I wonder, have you ever been in that situation when you've just been having a chat with somebody and something has sparked off a train of thought and you followed it, and then when there was a break, you've gone, how did I get here? And if you follow your way back, you go, oh gosh, that was a bit of a high convoluted way of working, a bit like this diagram. It's extemporaneous, it's free flowing. Now, the downside of that is that you can lose your way. And if you lose your way, you can guarantee the audience will lose their way. So by all means, if you are a creative, you don't like to be tied down, you want to do the downloads, you want to be in the moment, have a sense of structure about where you're going. Let your audience know where you're going. Let you know where you're going, so that everybody goes along with you. So in that situation, I strongly recommend to my extemporaneous speakers that they have a background structure in mind. And when I've had the kickback, go, oh, but no, I'm creative, I do the downloads. Yeah, okay. But even if you are a spirit-led, downloady person, you still require a channel, don't you? I mean, that free-flowing, think of water. It comes down through a downpipe or a river. There is some form of confinement, some form of container there. So have an idea of a structure, even if it's simply start with your big why, end with your call to action, and have a couple of points in between that take you there. We've had the scriptwriter, we've had the extemporaneous. Now, in between is what I call the bullet point speaker. Let me share with you that one. And the next one, please. There we go. The bullet point preparation. Now, this is where you know your material. You've been speaking about it for quite a long time. You've got those language patterns well embedded. You know what you're going to say. You know the language patterns that land with your audience. Those phrases that they go, oh, yeah, she's talking to me. Yeah, I know what he's saying now. They're the ones that you've done your research on and that you know your audience relates to, because that's their own thoughts that you're reflecting back to them. So when you know those language patterns and you've got an idea of where you're going, it may be that you started life as a scriptwriter, but now you have your signature talk, the one that you've delivered over and over and over again. You know where you're going. You don't need to have the original script to hand. Trust that makes sense. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you're in a state where you think, I really don't know this well enough. I really don't know this well enough. I need to have some notes with me. Palm cards can be really helpful if you are absolutely stuck. What do I mean by palm cards? There we go. Little bits of cardboard that started life as an index card, which I cut in half. Now, if you're a scriptwriter and you've got your palm card, so-called because they sit in the palm, and you like to write things out, the scriptwriter likes a sense of security. I'm trying to read this backwards here. You get the idea. It's written longhand. Now, if you've been talking to your audience and you've suddenly got a little panicky and you've gone down to look at your palm card, by the time you've read all of that lot, you've lost them because your presence has disappeared temporarily. Your attention is not with your audience. So if palm cards are required, this is where your bullet points come in handy. Nice, big writing. Security and certainty as being the upsides. Formal and stilted as being the downsides to script writing. So I trust that helps you in terms of where we're going with the bullet points. So from either end, you can come towards the bullet point preparation. If you're an extreme free-flowing person and you feel as though, well, you don't feel as though, but I would suggest that you have some container there, you have some sense of where you're going. Have those bullet points. You don't need them on a palm card, but have the idea of where you're going in your head so that you have that sense of flow in a particular direction. You know, rivers go to the sea. So is your direction going to your call to action? Because that's the last thing I want you to think about. There we go. Regardless of which end of the spectrum you come from, the scriptwriter or the the free-flowing person, what I would got you to think about is this particular sense of flow. You're going to start off with the why. Why are you shedding this spreading this message? Why are you sharing this message? Why is it important for your audience? And that's where this comes in. What's in it for me? Okay, have that in mind all the way through, right from the start. Your audience wants to know what's in it for me. So you're going to have to grab them to start with. What's in it for me? If they know that right from the start, you've got them. They will come with you. But that opening statement has to be so clear and compelling that you've earned the right for them to listen to the next bit. Okay, so that's where you're going with this one. And then you've got your flow towards your call to action. So that's the basic structure I would suggest, whether you're from a scriptwriter or whether you're from the free flow. This bit in the middle is the emotional journey that you want to take your audience on. Because think about it, the call to action, we like to think of it in terms of being something very linguistically based, something very cerebral. I'm making a conscious decision here, whether to follow your call to action or not. Yeah, no. Decisions are made back here. Decisions are made in that primal emotional brain. So whether you're going at it from the script or the free flow, think about the emotional journey you are taking your audience on. And then you can go towards your call to action. Okay, so today we've looked at personalities, reviewing them, the scriptwriter that likes to have everything written down. There are pluses and minuses. The free-flowing extemporaneous, got it right, extemporaneous speaker who can get a little lost. And another problem with this is timing. If you're on a timer and you're not quite sure where you're going with your presentation, this can be a challenge. Okay, so those of you who've done your Words Have Power and have been in the room know that I'm very keen that at 10 minutes I mute you. So it's very important that you keep to your time. So those are the extemporaneous, the free-flowing people on the other end. And then in the middle, you have the bullet point preparation. So when you know your material really well, you've got an idea of where you're going, you have that opportunity to, with your bullets, be free-flowing. Okay. So that was what I wanted to bring to you today. The preparation personalities for your talk. None of them are perfect. None of them are right. None of them are wrong. What works for you? There will be pluses, there will be some minuses on either of the extremes. You know your thoughts on this one. And as I said, I'll pop in the chat the information about that TEDx talk I was talking about. Okay, see you next week. Bye from me.